113, verse 1 through 9. Psalms 113. Psalms 113, verses 1 through verse 9. The 113th Psalm. And when I tell you I'm not going to be long, I am not. We have, let me say this while it's on my mind, and I may reiterate it, but while it's on my mind, let us continue to be in prayer for this community.
Yes.
The schools. We are believing God for the miraculous and for the turnaround.
Amen.
And certainly we see the challenges that are faced before us. God is raising some of us up to be a voice to those who can't be a voice for themselves. But when you decide to stir up the pot, believe you me, the heat gets turned up.
Yes, it does.
Amen. When you decide to take a stand for people who are vulnerable, people who are disenfranchised, the innocent, those who are not being heard, the cries of those who are not being heard. And we have a lot of young people in this community that are not being heard. Their cries are not being attended to. And we know that when a cry is not answered in its genesis, by the time you get to the end of its genesis, you enter into an exodus, and the exodus leads to a major revelation.
All right.
And the tides turn. The anger, their hurt, their pain is because somebody has not heard their cry.
Yes.
All right.
So we want to be praying for the schools. We want to be praying for the community. We want to be praying for the neighborhood as a whole. And certainly God is giving us the grace to start making that kind of impact. But whenever you start making a dent, literally you look for the powers and the principalities to start coming against you, assembling.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When the enemy of your enemy becomes their friend, they're no longer your friend.
Come on.
And that's what's coming into place. That's what's coming into power.
Right.
So let's read this, and in your hearing, I'm going to be reading from the King James Version, the first 9 verses of Psalms 113. And I believe that the Lord wants to speak something to us specifically today, and we are certainly going to get out of your way. Verse 1, Psalms 113, verse 1 through 9, King James Version. Praise ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun unto the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all nations, and his glory above the heavens. Who is like unto the Lord our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in the earth. Now I want you to note that. I want you to note verse 6. Who humbleth himself to behold. He's not talking about man here. He's talking about God taking on a characteristic that we usually don't associate or familiarize God with, and that is that God humbles himself.
Come on.
As a point of reference and a point of check for us to humble ourselves, so that verse 6 says, to behold. Now, if his glory is high, he has to bring himself down to check and see what he's doing.
All right.
Ooh, I wish y'all get that. Because the moment we think is not happening,
Come on now.
the moment we think that the praise and the exaltation and the low attendance and people are not talking and nobody's addressing anybody, that's usually at a point that God is humbling himself to behold what's going on.
That's right. That's right.
I'm recognizing God in ways and in streams and in places now that he being the exalted one, the holy one, the righteous one, in order for him to be touched by the feelings of our infirmities, God has to humble himself. to behold the things that are in heaven and the things that are on earth.
Come on.
In other words, God becomes a direct associate of ours, which does not reduce him to the fact of being just our running buddy. But God reduces himself just enough so that he can associate with us, so that he can really have a particular part in directing us. Now that's not what I wanted to say, but verse 6 just kind of strikes a note with me.
Yeah.
Watch this. If he humbles himself to behold, to see, to view what's going on, verse 7 says he does it so that he can raise up those that are down.
Come on. Come on.
He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set him with princes, even with the princes of his people. He maketh the barren woman to keep house. Ain't had nobody, but you start making room for some company.
Come on.
Looks like it's not going to happen. Look like it's not going to come to chance. Look like it's not going to come to place. But watch this. He says even in Isaiah, I left you for a little while. Isaiah 54. He told the barren woman, sing, O barren woman, you who were unable to bear. I left you for a little while and you were unfruitful. But then he said, but then you're going to have more than you could imagine. In other words, he's opening up the desire. He's opening up vision. He's opening up purpose. He's opening up prophetic mandates and prophetic insights. And you start having dreams about things that you said, oh, that could happen to me now. And God starts restoring things even at an age when you said, I should be retiring. It looks like I'm going back to work. But it's not work in the sense of seeking employment. It is the vision that God put inside of you for ministry, that God says you're going to produce and reproduce to the point you're going to be blessed by what you bear.
Wow.
Let me say that again. You're going to produce and you're going to reproduce and you're going to be blessed by what you bear. Because what's inside of you is bigger than you. So you got to have enough of what's inside of you to be birthed out of you so that it can bless you because you bore it. It's not just looking at children and saying, we're going to have some babies so the babies can be a blessing to us and help make us rich in our old age.
Come on.
It's about using that God has put inside of you, speaking it into the lives of others. So that when Jesus said, if you give, it should be given back to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So when you take what's inside of you and you impart it into somebody else, what's inside of them becomes, shall I say, it receives the life-giving power, the word, the seed of the word, and it begins to germinate. And you end up being blessed. So you didn't have to write the book. All you had to do was encourage somebody to write the book, and by the word you gave them, they wrote the book and you get the credit for it.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
All your laboring was to pour into somebody else, so that what you pour into them, they would turn around and you would become the benefactor of what you pour into them. Verse 9 again, he maketh the barren woman to keep house and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise ye the Lord. Amen. 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 I want to talk briefly from the subject, degrees of elevation.
All right.
And I want to put a little caveat with that. The degrees of your elevation require you to be in a tight place.
All right. Tight place. All right.
You know how we used to say things are tight right now.
Yeah. Yes, we do. And still do.
Yeah. And we still do. That's the truth. The degrees, you could not appreciate the degree of what God's going to do for you if he didn't put you in a tight place first.
Okay.
If he didn't put you in a place of challenge.
Right.
If he didn't put you in a place of sometimes misery. In a place of loneliness. Help me out here. Degrees of elevation. Degrees means that they are variations, steps, processes to your going up.
All right.
It had to start with your going down first. So what does God do? God takes us and he puts us in a place where, watch this, and I hope you get this. If you get this, then I'm really almost done.
Side.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
When he puts you in a tight place, the place that I want to call the tight place is really the wrong place. It's the place that we have named wrong. Why is this happening to me? This couldn't be right.
Come on.
I've prayed, I fasted, I waited, I obeyed, I served, I loved, I forgave, I evangelized, I witnessed, I encouraged, I clothed, I fed. Why is everything working against me when somebody said these things are really supposed to be working in our favor?
Right.
All right. Yeah.
It's because God has to take you through low degrees in tight places and then put you in a place called wrong to see how long you would enjoy your lengthy stay.
Wow. That's good.
We see all kind of hotels and all kind of suites and hotels and things like that. There is one of them that's called an extended stay.
Right.
They say it's supposed to be home away from home. And sometimes God gives you an extended stay for a lengthy period of time that you said, I could take this if it was for 1 week.
Yeah. Right.
I could take this if it was for 1 month. But what happens when the weeks become months and the months become years? And you're still in a place where everybody's second guessing and questioning your motives, questioning your intentions. And you're holding on to faith, but second guessing the integrity of what God spoke to you.
Yes.
Why am I here?
Yes.
This could not possibly be the right place.
That's what I said.
Because I've been here too long.
Right.
And you got to watch now. Because when you've been in a place called wrong for so long,
Come on.
people will celebrate you
You know what?
in a place called wrong. But in the meantime, they're busy trying to ask everybody else a question. What's going on?
What's going on? That's what they do.
They won't ask you. But they want to ask who you related to. What's happening?
Right.
How you feel? If I had you with me, I could have it made.
Come on, see.
Because I'm trying to figure out why you hanging with them in a place called wrong.
Okay.
Because all of you going through at the same time and y'all still faithful. Back as if you have an expectation that God's going to bring you to some form of elevation. And that's why the Bible says, despise not prophesying, because some people will prophesy to you, but they're really celebrating you in your wrong.
What?
Yeah. Because in order for you to get to the right place, God will detour you to a place called wrong.
Come on.
Technology not gonna work, so let me just go ahead and deal with it. It is in this that and maybe the Lord didn't want me to have it up on the screen today, but it is in this that I want to show you prophetically that the process by which we are elevated is the place that is a low place. It's a low ebb. It's a tight place. And oftentimes we define it as the wrong place, because if I'm doing what's right, why is so much wrong taking place around me?
Come on.
Why am I getting the negativity? Why am I getting the backlash? I applied your word, and it seemed like your word is working against me instead of for me.
Come on now.
We fasted, we agreed, we touched, we took the prophetic word, we repeated what was said. But watch this. Even in our best intentions, we missed the judgment call because we thought it was meant for everybody to be with us. Sometimes God will keep people with you just long enough until you get to the end of the place called wrong.
Wow.
You ought to say, thank God
Thank God.
for a place called wrong. And the Lord's been wrestling with me, and I've been wrestling with him, because we've been in this spot together. And you know, it's not that you're second guessing, but you're telling yourself, you know it's coming.
It's coming. Right. It's coming.
And you know it's happening because you know that the battle intensifies when you get real close. The bombs really start dropping, and the enemy launches an all-out assault because he has nothing left in his arsenal to destroy you. And you got to understand that it was necessary for you, in order to get to the place called right and the place called righteous, you had to go through a place called wrong first.
Wow.
Somebody say, I'm looking for wrong.
I'm looking for wrong.
I'm measuring my days of how long I'm going to have to stay. I don't know how long I'm going to have to stay. Some days might be shorter than others. But if it means that I have to have a lengthy stay in this place called wrong, I'm not going to look at all of the wrong to acknowledge all of the wrong in the place called wrong. I'm going to take what is wrong and begin to focus on what's right.
You better preach.
On where I'm going, on where we're going as a people of God. And that means we're going to have to disarm ourselves.
Wow.
Because you know, when you got a lengthy state, you got to go shopping. Don't worry about it. When you got a lengthy state, you got to go shopping.
Right.
And you start buying clothes according to where you are, not according to where you're going. You ever been on vacation and it was a little bit warmer than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah.
So you went to the novelty shop and said, you know, it's really warm out here. I'm going to buy something and change right here at the shop and wear this out of here.
Yeah.
Because you're buying something for the moment.
Right.
You're buying something for the moment, which is only temporary, because you're nothing but a tourist.
All right.
You're not a resident.
Okay.
Hallelujah. We've got to learn not to buy wardrobes in a place we're only going to be in for a little while.
You know what?
For a little while. For a little while.
You buy for the comfort of where you are right now. Because when you get to where you need to get, then that's when you keep your wardrobe, or you purchase a wardrobe for where you're going.
Okay.
You got to have an insight in mind. I'm not always going to be in this place.
Amen.
And it won't always be like this.
Right.
The Lord will perfect that concerning us.
Yes.
And sooner or later, it'll work in our favor. Because he's working it out for us. And you have to make up in your mind that if we're going to be visionaries,
Come on.
we got to be true to the task, true to the call, true to the calling, that in the hour in which we live, our aim is to praise our way through this thing and to have a praise on reserve.
All right.
As a matter of fact, there's 3 forms of the elevation in this, and I'm going to say this and I'm done. Number 1, you have to have a praise that you keep with you at all times.
Okay.
David said, I'll bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Psalms 34. Psalms 34. Psalms 37. Psalms 34. I'm sorry. Psalms 34. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. That's the praise I keep with me daily. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. That's my daily praise.
All right.
It's my daily praise. But then you have to have a praise that goes before you.
Okay.
The praises of God, where it says that your anger kindleth but for a moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Weeping may endure for a night,
That's the word.
but joy is coming.
Yes.
We've been talking about joy this morning. Joy is coming. Joy was in the prayer. Joy was in the worship song. We've been mentioning this because if joy is, I have to see it not from what I feel. Joy is not what you feel. Joy is what you know.
That's right.
You can be happy because you feel good.
Right.
And you can be happy and not be joyful.
That's true.
But it's hard to be joyful and not be happy.
Come on now. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in the moment of what we're dealing with, I can be happy because somebody said something nice, somebody celebrated me, somebody gave us something good. But watch this. But that's only fleeting. It's an emotion. Joy is the expectation of what you have that is forthcoming.
Right.
And so my praise goes out as if I'm going fishing.
All right.
Yes.
You hear what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Something's biting today. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not a fisherman like Elder Jones. I'm not a fisherman
Yeah.
like him. I don't go out on the boat, but I like to watch people fish. Sometimes I'll go down to the lake at a quiet time, and I just like to watch people just on the pier fish. If I can see them with the boat, I like to see them go out there, and I like to see what they're going to catch. See if they're going to catch anything. And sometimes it's fascinating just to watch the look on people's faces when they're trying to catch something.
Yeah.
I'm talking about degrees of elevation.
Yeah.
Because if praise waited for God, you got to be at a place where you keep one with you
Yes.
Yeah.
daily.
Yes. Yes.
And you got to have one that you can throw out in front of you
Yeah.
with the expectation
Yeah.
that no matter how long it takes, something's biting.
That's right.
And when I feel the tug on this thing,
Oh yeah.
I'm going to know how to lift my hands. Because my praise is going to reel in my blessing
Yeah.
while I'm waiting for the elevation to come. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So a fisherman knows how to be patient. A fisherman knows how to wait. A fisherman does not have the expectation that this is only going to take 5 minutes. A fisherman is willing to wait in a tight place for a lengthy period of time until the bite stops, till the biting stops. And sometimes while you're out there, you got to learn how to change positions.
Come on. Oh man.
Yes.
Come on.
You got to learn how to catch the wave. See, for somebody that don't fish, believe you me, I learn by observation.
Yeah. Right.
I don't have to go out there to do it to tell somebody how to do it. Now, when it comes to hooking up the reel and throwing out the rod, you need somebody else for that. But I observe the patience of a fisherman. Jesus said that the day is coming when I'm going to make you fishers of men, and you got to learn how to keep dropping baits
All right.
until they start biting.
That's right. That's
In
right.
other words, you got to learn how to be prophetic. You got to learn how to be intentional. You got to learn how to be patient. And you cannot let your gifts outweigh your character. Because you may have the gift of charisma to draw them to you, but you can draw folks and not catch them.
Right, right.
That's right. That's right.
You might know what to do to set the bait. You might know what time to go out early in the morning. You might know what position to take, how they're close to the shore, how you need to launch out into the deep, and you can know how to draw them. But the question is, can you catch them?
Right.
That's it. That's right.
In this hour, our aim is to catch what we draw.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
That's the praise you throw out there.
Uh-huh.
But be careful in this. Don't try to clean
You know what?
before you catch it.
All right. All right.
Because I've never seen anybody clean fish before they caught it.
That's right. That's right.
We cannot take on that traditional corruption of the church. That you got to be this, you got to be this, you got to be this before you come. Can we get them to come first? Can we get them to come? Because we got to understand God wants them back. And if God wants them back, he will set you up as to where to catch them and how to catch them. But don't try to clean them before you catch them.
That's right.
And then don't act like they're yours once you catch them.
All right. All right. All right.
You're not catching them for you. You're catching them for him.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
That's good word. Good word.
And then you got to have praise on reserve.
All right. Praise on.
So you have to have one daily
Uh-huh.
that goes with you daily. You have to have a praise that is always extended out before you.
Okay.
Yes.
Because sometimes God will say, fish right here. And you're saying, God, there's no water. This makes no sense. I don't even see any water. God says, I know you don't. But I'm going to show you how the indigenous people do. If you're going to go up and be fed, if you're going to go up and be blessed, if you're going to go up and increase, I'm going to show you how to catch them without a rod.
All right.
I'm going to bring you close enough to where there is water, and then I'm going to show you how the indigenous people will do it. They will take a spike, a handmade shovel, and they will start digging. And they will dig close enough, somewhere close enough to the stream, so once they start digging, it is able to bring in a flow of water. Once they get that right flow coming in from where the water is, they dig a deep enough pit for the fish to come in and stand in the water, so that they don't have to go out and catch them. They'll dig a trench that watch this, what we hear last night. So when the surge brings them in, the fish will be abiding in the pit. Y'all gonna make me holler. I hadn't even planned on working up a sweat.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
If
That's
we
it.
can learn how to be creative in our imagination, if we can learn how to be meticulous and intentional with God, that when we don't have a plan, he will give us a plan immediately, instantaneously, even in the self same hour. And God said, start digging right here. You said, but God, this doesn't make sense. God said, start digging right here. I want you to dig a trench. You said, God, this doesn't make sense right here. God said, you bring the fire, you bring the wood, you bring the grill, the source for what you have for cooking, and God says, I'm going to provide the meal for you.
Amen.
But you're going to have to do something.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
And they show the indigenous people when they go out to catch, male or female, they will dig a trench above the heavens, which means that there is a place above heaven where his glory is resting.
Amen.
Heaven is the place we're trying to get to.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
But I want to touch the place where the glory is abiding.
Hallelujah.
I'm trying to behave myself. We're talking about degrees of elevation.
Yeah.
It's one thing to praise him while my feet are flat. It's another thing to think of a heavenly praise, and we're trying to, we praise and we often think of heaven, and we have this mindset of heaven, but praise is always ascending. It takes root. It digs down, but the intention of praise is to lift up, to raise up, to exalt.
Yeah.
So praise, if it's going to get to the place it needs to get for there to be a shaking and a changing and a transforming on the earth, the praise has got to ascend above heaven.
Right.
Wow.
Because there's a place above heaven where his glory is.
Yeah.
Look at somebody and say, that's what I'm trying to get to.
That's what I'm
I'm trying to touch glory. I'm trying to touch glory. We thought the glory was just in heaven. No, there's a glory of heaven. There's a glory in heaven, but there's a glory above the heavens.
That's good.
It says, who is likened unto our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself. Watch this. To behold the things that are in heaven. There is a praise that is on reserve that gets God to come to where we are.
Yes.
And how does that happen? Glory, praise has to hit the spot above the heavens.
Yes.
Think about yourselves. See, I was supposed to be done a few minutes ago. Look at this. Think about yourself. The glory, a good feeling, praise, accolades, makes you feel good. That's emotions.
All right.
But he goes above that.
Come on.
He hits the epicenter, which is the thought processes.
Yes.
So there's a praise that I have daily, a praise that goes out. There's a praise that's on reserve. Watch this. The praise that is on reserve is a premeditated praise.
Premeditate.
In other words, I think praise when I'm not even in the place of praise.
Come on.
Because remember, I told you he'll give you a lengthy stay in a tight place.
Yeah.
In a place called wrong.
Yeah.
That's when you need a praise that gets above your emotions.
Come on.
And it hits the epicenter of your thinking. Because we become the sum total of the thoughts that we are. So if I shop while I'm in a tight place, in a barren place, in a place that I'm only supposed to be passing through, and if I shop as if I'm going to stay, praise has only got to my emotions. It has not hit the epicenter of my mind. Therefore, I cannot reach the degrees of elevation because my aim is to think praise when I don't see it. My aim is to think praise so that I can speak praise, so that I can become praise. That's praise on reserve. It becomes a walking, talking, living, thinking, moving, breathing praise. In other words, so that before you open up your mouth, your thoughts, you become the sum total of the thoughts that you think. So while I'm sitting there, I'm praise.
Yes, sir.
While I'm moving, I'm praise. While I'm believing, I'm praise. To the degree that folks will know you not by your name, but by what you do, because what you do is who you are. That is the degree of elevation. And that means you cannot just touch the emotional place of heaven. You got to get to the glory.
The glory.
So that God can humble himself to see what's going on.
Thank you.
The degree of elevation is to get God to humble himself.
Humble him.
To come and see what's going on. Our aim is to bow before his presence. To worship and adore him. To lay it all at his feet. When he looks down and we've gone beyond our emotions, God says, I have to come to the low place.
Yes, thank you.
So God brings his seat with him
Come on.
while we're creating a seat for him, and he has to sit down.
All right.
Glory to God.
Yeah.
He humbleth himself. In other words, he wants to see what it looked like.
Yeah.
Look at somebody say, he wants to see what it looked like. Because you touched a place in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By elevating yourself beyond the emotional place
Yes, Lord.
Okay.
to the glory.
Yeah.
He cannot humble himself until glory is touched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because his glory is high above
Heaven.
the heavens. There's a place that we have not sought to get to because we say, if I just get to heaven, I'm cool. As long as I got a seat
That's what we said.
in the kingdom,
Come on. Come on.
you know, it's all right. But I don't want to just have a seat in the kingdom anymore. When I understand that there's a place that causes him to abide with me daily, I want to touch the glory above. I want to get to the glory above. Why am I struggling? Because he puts me in a place so that I can get to the place that's above the place where I want to be.
Come on. Come on.
Because if I only think about the place where I want to be, I settle for doing just enough to get there.
Yeah.
But if I can get to the glory that is above the place that I can, I can't even imagine what the glory above the heavens look like.
Yeah.
But my aim is,
My aim.
before I get there, is to get there to come here.
Oh yeah.
So that he can take a seat. Humble himself. Just to see what is going on.
Amen.
Do you see it?
Oh yeah.
Last verse. And I'm done. What does the last verse say? Psalms 113, verse 9.
He maketh a barren woman to keep house.
He maketh when the glory comes.
All right.
Look around. If you don't see somebody sitting next to you, in front of you, behind you, and you see an empty space, that's called barren.
Right. Right. Right.
Look at somebody say, that's the wrong place.
That's the wrong place.
That's the wrong place. His aim is to get us to the wrong place so that he can take the wrong place and make the barren place the right place so that the barren woman will be what?
Keep her house.
So that the barren woman will be made to keep her house. It would be useless to call her a barren woman keeping house if she didn't have children
That's right. That's right.
Amen.
that she was about to keep house with.
That's good. That's
She can go to work, come home, and clean house.
yeah.
But the keeping of the house, you got to have somebody. You got to have somebody. You got to have somebody in the house with you that you can keep, and they help keep you. That's the degree of elevation that we want to get to, so that when God comes down and sees a barren place, he says, I ain't pleased with that. This is the wrong place they've been talking about, but because they touched the glory that was above the heaven, I got to come down and see what's happening. And I see an empty spot here, I got to put some child there.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
So that the barren church,
Come on.
so that the barren land, so that the barren community, when everybody else is ostracizing and criticizing and scandalizing and victimizing, God said, that's the place I'm looking for. I'm looking for a place called wrong so I can make it right. Let's stand to our feet. I'm done, y'all.